Hey everyone, welcome back. Or if you're new here, my name is Heiko. I go by the artist name Noga Sayan, and I produce and perform electronic music, both hybrid and dawless. Today I want to show you the process of how you can convert your existing live set from Elektron boxes like, say, Digitakt, Syntakt, Digitone, or whatever else, into a new Ableton Live Set. So if you've been here before, then you know I was deep into the dawless side of things, and I still am, well, kind of. Because when I got the Ableton Move a few months back, I somehow was attracted by Ableton again. I used Ableton as a DAW in the earlier days. I think I used it from like version 6 to version 9 or something. And then I stopped using it and only used Logic to record my band until now. And with my most recent edition of the Push 3 over here, I got even more into Ableton again. And here's what I discovered. They improved that program in a way that is not only a DAW anymore. Instead, it is a full instrument. And it becomes an instrument even more when you combine it with a push. They established a workflow that is so incredibly well thought out and convenient that you almost don't have to think about how something might work. It just works. And if you start to dive into all these Max for Live devices out there, well, I would say then it almost has kind of a modular feeling to it. If you haven't watched it yet, check out Miles Kandra's video about the Forced Diet. That's a synthesizer, a Max for Live device for the push, and has a really nice integration into the push standalone also. And it turns Ableton and your push into a whole other instrument, which allows to improvise and create music in a way I only knew from hardware or even modular stuff. So go check that out. That being said, I still use my hardware a lot for creating my music, and I will also continue playing live with it and keep making videos about it and about my Elektron gear, for example. But at the moment, I'm so hyped by all these new possibilities Ableton and the push gives me, I feel like a little kid in a toy store somehow. Okay, so let's start with what the title says. Let's convert a track out of my Elektron machines into an Ableton live set. And let's keep in mind that we want to create a new live set which gives us a lot of creative options, but also takes some parts from our shoulders that could possibly stress us during a live show. And one thing I rediscovered also, now I'm using a DAW to play live again. I can mix and compress properly. So with this, we can achieve a pretty good live sound that can, absolutely compare with a DJ set in terms of sound quality and maybe loudness. So let's get into it. Okay, so in order to convert a track from my existing live act in my Elektron boxes over here, we first have to import it into Ableton, and that means record them. So we're here at a fresh Ableton project. We first have to load Overbridge. And for this track, I use my Digitone 2 and the Digitakt. Okay, so let's first drop the Digitakt onto a MIDI track. And also with the Digitone 2, we finally have Overbridge for Digitone 2, which fully supports every function. But somehow I think channel 16 is missed somehow. So the Digitone 2 has 16 tracks, but in Overbridge at the moment there are only 15 tracks, so I don't know why. Okay, so now we have a Digitakt and Digitone 2 Overbridge instance loaded. And when I hit play in Ableton, then the boxes should start playing time. Yeah, so that's fine. That's the track I'm talking about. The track is called Destillat. Maybe you heard it before in one of my other videos. I was working on it since a longer time, but now I want to release it and I want to play it in my new live set, so that means I have to record it, and when I have to record it, then I can also release it later. Okay, so let's first check what kind of sounds we have and how many tracks we need for this song to be recorded. I only want to record the important parts of a track. I don't want to record everything because I want to leave some space for an external instrument when I have it in my live set. So the main melody will be played live either or triggered by an external instrument device, which then goes into the Minilogue XD, which is my live synthesizer. So let's see what we have. Let's start with the Digitakt. This is just a bass drum, a close hi-hat. Yeah, I don't know if I need this now really. Let's go for the Digitone 2. Okay, we have a bass line. We have some kind of a percussion line. Yeah, and that's only pattern 1. So I know there will be another synthesizer added in the Digitone 2 later in another pattern. But maybe let's start with the bass line. So to do that, I will go to an empty audio track. I will mute it for now, and I will go to Digitone 2. I will set the monitor settings to off, because when you go to options, sorry, it's in German, but when you go to options, then you can reduce latency at monitoring. So if you hit that option, then you can reduce the latency which is created by recording. We set the monitor to off and hit this reduced latency setting. Okay, so then we hit ARM. And now we mute the Digitakt. And now we mute everything in the Digitone which we don't want to record. I record from the main output from the Digitone, and that's the reason why I mute everything I don't want to record at this moment. So I only want to have the bass line. So I will mute this, and just for my brain to work properly, I will mute the Digitakt. So I have only the bass line from the Digitone. And now I will check what can we do, what can we modulate. So we could modulate the filter frequency. What I do when I record stems or tracks from the Digitone or other outboard gear, I will create a loop that already has some movement in it. So when I record a bass line, for example, I try to figure out what can I modulate during recording, and in this example I will play a little bit with the cutoff frequency, so that when the loop later is running for 8 bars or 16 bars or something like that, that you already have a little bit of movement inside the loop without having to work the cutoff frequency by yourself when playing live. That gives a little bit room for other things you can do. Okay, so let's start with the bass line. Okay, we have an 8-bar loop with a little bit of filter movement. That's quite nice. Now I will name it. Next we had this little percussion line, which was on track 12. Yeah. Okay, let's record that. Let's record like 16 bars. So now we have already 2 separate sounds which we can use live. So we have to check the next patterns. Okay, there's still the bass drum. I added a snare drum on the Digitakt. For the drums, I will add them later in my live set in Ableton, because I got a drum rack loaded with my sounds. I will use drum sounds and stuff like that. So I won't use simple sounds from the Digitakt when it's only a bass drum or a snare drum or a clap, in case it's a regular bass drum or a clap or something. If it has some kind of a special value to it and the song just works with this very sound, then I would record it, sure. But for this, I have the drums in my live set already. I don't have to record it now. So let's focus on the Digitone. We already have the bass line. We already have the percussion. We have a little, I don't know how to call it, step sound, piano sound, I don't know, synth sound, plucky synth sound. So I will record that also. Okay, so now we have this. I need another audio track. Let's name it Perk Loop 1, and this is Plug Mellow 1. Okay, so now what do we have next? Okay, that's a nice chord sound, and I will record a loop with this chord sound for about 16 bars or maybe longer, I don't know, because I want this to evolve by itself while I can play live with other things. So combined with the bass line, which already has some movement, and the plug melody, yeah, as I said in the beginning, takes a load from my shoulders and I can focus on other things playing live. So let's record this chord sound. Like this. Okay, so when we combine this with the drums from the Digitakt, we can imagine how this works live, because it already, as I said, has some movement in it already. I don't want to bore you with this unfinished track, but you get the point. We have 128 steps here, or bars here. I don't know really what is that. Never mind. So we have already a good load of movement and evolving loops or evolving tracks in this song. So what I now want to do is I will start mixing already. So I have recorded it now, but it's the raw version. And in order to have a clean and powerful live sound, I will now start the mixing process that I can import somehow in the later live set. So I want the stems or the loops to be already mixed and mastered and EQ'd and compressed and glued and put into stem groups, so that I can import them and don't have to think about is the bass too high or too low, or are there any frequencies that are disturbing the sound, or because I want to achieve loudness and a clear sound. So that's why mixing begins at exactly this stage for me, and I take always in simple EQ. The EQ8 in Ableton is quite nice. I will just drop one on every track, and I always go to this first point and cut everything below like 38 Hertz or something like this, just for the beginning. And then I will create a fifth, cut a little bit of the high frequencies. Then I will copy that and drop it on every other track. And now I try to set the frequency range of each instrument. So like the bass line needs obviously a little bit more bass, and I can cut the higher frequencies to make room for the synthesizer sounds and stuff. But I also want to limit the bass frequencies so that I don't have this muffled rumble sound which no one needs, and which triggers the compressor. When you get with too much bass or too much loud bass into a compressor, then it will trigger and it will, it creates mud in the sound, and I don't know how to call it. I think you know what I mean. And that's the reason why I will set the frequencies for each instrument. So let's hear what this is. That's the percussion loop. I don't need this lower frequencies here. I will limit the higher frequencies and give it a little bit of a boost at about 2.5 kilohertz or something, just for now. And this is the plug mellow. You can already see like everything below 100 Hertz, I don't need this. I can cut this. And at this point, I see these peaks. You see these peaks here? That's the point where I start to get surgical. So I go with the Q factor on point number 2 here. Yeah, relatively high. And then I will fade through the frequencies and listen to it and hear what frequencies are hurting my ears. So like this. Here at 245 Hertz, I think I will go down a little bit and cut those frequencies, because when you compress it and play it on a club system, these are frequencies that start to resonate and add up and makes the sound muddy. Same with these mid-high frequencies. These are the ones that are hurting your, that hurts your ear. So if we erase these disturbing frequencies, we can achieve a much louder loudness in the master later. Okay, that's enough for now. Let's check the other ones. Also a little bit of bass. I don't need that. Make room for the other basses and the kick drum. Same procedure here. That's a frequency that might add up. Oh yeah. If you scroll through these frequencies, then you start hear kind of a ringing in your headphones. And if you hear these ringing, these resonating frequencies, then you know that is a frequency you don't want to have in your main mix, because these are the frequencies that, yeah, we don't need that. We want a clear, punchy sound, and to achieve that, we have to erase some frequencies. I see this as a kind of a pad sound, or like, it's not a real pad, but I can already see here. Oh, you hear that? If you're wearing headphones, then you might hear this. Ah, no, we don't need that. I feel like quite often when I use FM sounds from the Digitone, you have some pretty nasty frequencies that no one needs. So you have to take the time to cut them out. Yeah, this one also. And maybe another one in the lower range. As I said, it's surgical, and sometimes it's quite fiddly to find the right frequencies, but I can tell you it's worth the time investing it to yeah, get rid of those frequencies. So now we have this. Okay, it sounds much clearer now. And one thing I want to mention is in my live set, I use only 8 tracks because the push layout is set to 8 tracks. Sure, you can scroll through the pages and have, I don't know how many tracks. You can have an infinite amount of tracks, I think. But I set myself to 8 tracks because that's enough. If you work with groups and stem groups and live synthesizers and stuff, you have to think about what you want to do, how many stems you have, how many different kinds of sounds you have. And for this, 8 tracks are enough, I think. So the other thing now is, and maybe I will skip that so you don't have to watch this, but I will now create 5 different audio tracks and mute them and record these 5 loops again with the added equalizer setting here. And I will also give it a little bit of glue compression on every track, and then I will give it a little bit of glue compression just to glue it a little bit together and to achieve some loudness. So just till this needle starts to move a little bit, no more than that. And then I will go a little bit up with a makeup gain, up to I think minus 12 dB or something. Yeah, and that I will do with all the other ones. So you have to so that we achieve a similar level on each of these tracks, like maybe minus 12 dB or something, so that we can, or I try to leave all the volume faders in the live set at 0 or maybe at minus 6 or something, and that all the tracks are already kind of mixed in a good volume, so that I don't have to match the different volumes while playing live. That is annoying. If you have to watch, or if you have to look for the different volumes while playing live, that's annoying. So I try to achieve a nice mix down already before I go into the live set. Now I will record them individually to these new 5 audio tracks, then I will name them, and then we can import them into the new live set. Okay, so we have this. Next step would be to name them. So we have them recorded with a compressor, we have them recorded with an added EQ setting and in the right volume setting. So now we have to name these exact files in the file browser so that we can then import the right files into our live set. So let's go right click here and show in browser and name it. I always name it with a track title or the song title, which is called Destillat in this way, in this example. Then I will call it baseline. We only have one baseline, so baseline is enough. And we only have this part, I think, because the baseline gets repeated over and over. Otherwise, I would say I would name this part 1, part 2, break, after break, before break, something like this, so that I can remember what part of the song this is. And I will always put in the BPM, because warping sometimes gets annoying if you don't know the original BPM tempo. So Destillat baseline 128 BPM, like this. So now go to the next one, show in browser. Okay, like this. So now that we have recorded and named everything, we have to save it. And now it's important to collect and save. I don't know which is the right term in English, because this is German. Yeah, like collect and save all the samples and sounds which are recorded or imported from the sample library or something into this very project, so that you can now take it everywhere or import it on your push or something, and you have all these recorded stuff saved into the project. Now let's create a live set. Let's open a new set. So for my live set, as I said, I go with 8 tracks. Normally on track number 1 is my drum track. Here I have my Nogasayan live drums, like this. And I always change the color to red because drums are red for me. So next I will go with an audio track and I will name it Bass Stem 1 and also Bass Stem 2. Now I will group them and call the group bass in capital letters because capital letters for me means groups. And I will change the color to a dark orange because bass is dark orange. This is the concept of my live set. I will now create some tracks here and do the same with this. Perk stems 1. In my actual live set I have sometimes 3 stem tracks in one group because yeah, sometimes 2 are not enough. I will put an equalizer and an compressor and stuff like that on the group channels so that I can save up some CPU power if I just put the effects on the stem group. So, and I will name the other ones like top loops or top stems and synth stems and chords and steps and stuff like that. I will fast forward this because it's boring to watch. Okay, now I have all my stem channels or stem tracks. And these both are not in a group because I want to mangle these send effects for each track separately, not in a group, because synth sounds are often quite important and I want to have the access to every parameter of these tracks. So now I will create a MIDI track and throw a external instrument on this. And this is in the live set my mini log, and I will highlight it with a fancy color like this maybe. Yeah, and I will here set the MIDI to the mini log and the audio from the push. I can show you that in another video because this video is pretty long already. Only that you can see I have my live drums which I can play with the push. I have some macro controls here, like attack, decay, release, snare pitch, shaker, delays and reverbs and noise release. Always fun to play with noise live. Or like you can use the beat repeat and throw some claps and snare rolls. Also crucial for me that the snare drum has either pitch or like a longer release time so that you can play with the pitch and the release time while hitting like 8 or 16th notes with a beat repeat function. So that's quite nice to play with. Yeah, then I have these stems for songs that have to work, but with this external instrument I have always the possibility to raise tension or play something else. Another thing I will do now is, because my drums are in a drum rack group and all these drums are combined together, so I don't have a single kick drum signal to trigger any sidechain compression. So what I do for that is I will create an audio, or it can be a MIDI track, doesn't matter. I will throw just a simple kick loop in this one. I will put the fader down and mute it. And then I will go to these groups and throw a compressor with side chaining on this. With the input from, I have to call it, I always call it SC trigger, like sidechain trigger. And I will make it black. Also this clip. And I copy this clip over throughout the whole set, because this is just my sidechain trigger. Because the kick is in this group and I cannot send a trigger signal from this. At least I don't know how. If I'm wrong here, please correct me. But I use this method to trigger all the sidechain compressors in this set. One other thing to mention is I always go into the preferences and say, like at record warp at launch, that the short samples looping functionality is set to auto, but the long samples warp is set to off, and the standard warp mode is set to beats. But it's important for me at least that long samples are not warped automatically. So I will set this setting to off because I will do that by myself. Okay, so now we just have to find this working title. If you open the project here in your browser and go to record it, there are the recorded stems. We now only have to throw them into the right destination. So bass into bass stem, perks into perk stems. We don't have any tops now. Tops, I mean like hi-hat loops or something. I will create them live. But we have a chord loop and we have a synth. No, we have a plug mellow. I will put them into a synth 1. And we have this synth 2, which is super annoying sound, but just to remember what I played there, I will load it into here. And now I have to create a simple beat. By the way, I love this bass drum. It's in my sample pack. You can download it for free on my Gumroad page. Okay, let's see what we have. Works, but I will now go into each and every clip and set the warp modus to complex, because with beats it sounds alright when it is in the same BPM tempo you have this stuff recorded in, but as soon as you change the BPM tempo while playing live, it sounds awful, and that's because I choose complex. I like to use complex pro, but I don't know if the push have the CPU power to process every audio file in complex pro. I don't know if it's a great or a big difference between complex and complex pro in terms of processing power. So if you know something about that, I would be highly interested to know the difference between complex and complex pro in terms of processing power with a push standalone. So like this. So as you can hear, this loop is already rolling and stuff is happening. I turned some knobs or I tweaked some sounds while recording this, and you can hear that. So you can sit on this groove for quite a bit of time. And while this loop is running, you can play with the Minilog or your external synthesizer, or play with the drums, or maybe play with other effects. You could build a performance effect rack just for your own live sets. You can do whatever you want. That can be overwhelming, but for me it's just a new discovered playground full of incredible possibilities. And the Ableton Move was the door opener for this. After I got the Move, I got the push standalone, and that was just mind-blowing for me. So I think my live set will change a lot, but quality-wise I think it gets improved a lot. Okay, yeah, that's what I wanted to show you, how you can get your grooves out of your Elektron machines with using Overbridge and this resample recording method I use with the mix down and the EQ settings and stuff like that, so that you can import it into your Ableton set and have a quite good starting point of establishing your live set with an equal volume and frequencies are set the right way and stuff like that. Yeah, I think that's it. So this video is pretty long already, but in the next videos I could show you my actual live set in Ableton, which I'm building at the moment. Yeah, I could show you how I build it and how I use it to play and perform freely. Tell me in the comments if you want to know more about that. I would absolutely love to share my ideas and workflow to maybe get you inspired and to get you as hyped as I am about this new playground I have. So as always, thanks for watching. If you like this video, consider subscribing to my channel. That would help me big time to keep creating videos like this. And also check out my sample pack, which is available for free at my Gumroad page. There's a link in the description also. So I think that's it for now again. Have a nice Sunday. Till next time, take care. Bye.